What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck profile here on TCG University for the card game UniVersus. My name is Tam, and today I'm going to be showing you the Cassandra deck that Rochester CCG gave us for this week's Campus Championship. So, like I said, big shout-outs to Rochester CCG, rochesterccg.com, for giving us a bit of a throwdown this week. They gave us 4 decks. We brought 4 decks. They picked the bracket that we played, and then we played some awesome matches. So if you want to go check those out, they'll be on a separate playlist here out on the YouTube. But with all that ahead of us, let's jump into the profile. All right, so Cassandra's a really, really fun deck. One of the most defensive decks that you can have inside of UniVersus. 7-hand size, 22 vitality. That's a big note here because a lot of 7-handers, they don't really push past 20, 21. 22 is on the very high end of a 7-hand size character. Heck, there are some characters in this game that are 7-hand size with 17 vitality, if that tells you just how much health 22 really is. But the big thing that Cassandra does is she gives speed to pretty much all of her attacks, equal to the block modifier. So the harder it is to block with a card that you have, the faster you get to make the attack. And then once per turn, after you check an asset, whenever we play cards in this game and I attempt to play a card, I will discard the top card of my deck. If the card that I check is a green asset card like this, I get to add it to my staging area committed. Now this is once per turn, meaning it's on both my turn and your turn, on my opponent's turn, and so it's possible that I could be building in a ton of assets throughout the game, and assets are really strong in UniVersus. So this character is very strong. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the attack lineup first. Let's see how we kill them. And the first attack that we're playing is one of them real good kill 'em cards. We're playing 4 Missile Launcher. Pretty much not bad in any situation, whether it's early, mid, or late into the game. Really shows off the potency of this card. It has a 2 mid block, meaning that we give it +2 speed with Cassandra, and we can discard the top 4 cards of our deck to give it either 4 speed or 4 damage, depending on the scenario that do we really want to make this thing hit? All right, we'll give it extra speed. Do we really want it to hit hard? We'll give it a little bit of extra damage. It's got stun 2, EX2 powerful 4, all amazing keywords, and then in deadlock, you get to increase all those keyword ratings by 3. Card's just a true catch-all when it comes to smacking my opponent. Up next, we're playing 4 Nutcracker, another one of those big, huge money cards, as you can tell. This card also kind of just does it all. Got an amazing block. It has Breaker 2, which means after I block with it, my opponent's next card gets 2 more difficult, excuse me. It has EX3, increasing my speed even further, increasing damage on its own if my opponent's character is male or their character does not have a gender. And then lastly, you can add a foundation from your discard pile to your card pool in any order and then draw an additional card. It combos really well with some of the other cards that we play in the deck. These 2 cards combined together, Missile Launcher and Nutcracker, are just are absolute beaters when it comes to offense. One of my big win conditions in this deck is actually this card, Dark Cherry Toe. It has multiple 2, which means you discard a momentum in order for it to become a copy of the attack, and you'll go through and it's another 4 low for 6. And so smacking my opponent with one of these 2 really awesome, really fast cards because of Cassandra means that my Dark Cherry Toad is just going to hit exceptionally hard after they go to momentum. In addition to that, it also says that my opponent can't use cards that would reduce the damage or make cards leave my card pool. There's a lot of pesky cards like Swordfish 2 that force cards out of my card pool. Well, with Dark Cherry Toad just existing in the card pool, just sitting here, even after we're done resolving the attack, they don't get to play those cool abilities. In the same vein as Dark Cherry Toe, we're playing 1 from Science with Love. This card also gets the multiple keyword, but it gets the multiple keyword equal to my opponent's face-down foundations. So we can have anywhere from multiple 0 all the way up to sometimes like multiple 10, multiple 12. And the way that we can snap all the momentum for this multiple is we can add the top card of our deck to our momentum equal to the number of assets that we have. With Cassandra getting to add assets in for free whenever we check them, we can, in 1 turn, get all the way up to like +6 momentum. Actually insane. You can get 6 momentum, and sometimes you can even get like multiple 6. So being able to play like 7 copies of From Science with Love pretty much is going to close out the game. Up next, a bit of a flow card. We're playing 4 Swallow Your Soul. Sometimes we don't see the From Science with Love, and so Swallow Your Soul being 1 a throw, and its ability of if it deals 3 or more damage, you get to add the top card of your deck to momentum. It means we get to jam momentum very quickly as we are playing the game on our turn. Because of the fact that this has a 4 low block, it becomes very fast, and with some of the other tools inside of our deck, it hits very hard. Up next, our next flow card is double a Kimbo. You get to draw cards equal to the number of foundations in your card pool. So comboing with cards like Nutcracker, adding foundations into your card pool is really strong, as well as it gets a bunch of extra damage equal to the control, the bottom number of the first card in your card pool. So like I said, with Nutcracker, adding this card anywhere, I can add it to the very front and then give my Kimbo plus 5 damage normally. Card's really, really good, especially whenever I give it an additional 2 speed off of Cassandra. Up next, flow card-wise, we're playing double Tombstone Stunner. It is another throw, very much in the same vein of Swallow Your Soul. So even if my opponent full blocks it, it's still going to get a little extra damage, get a little extra momentum generation, as well as it makes my next throw hit harder, and it says if you block this card, my next card has -2 difficulty. So it kind of lubes up my my attack string in order to play my my bigger, crazier attacks like my Nutcrackers, my missile launchers, my Dark Cheeritos, my From Sciences a little later in the chain when my opponent isn't quite expecting it. And the last flow card that I'm playing is one Reproaching Triburum. Enhance your attacks, get +1 damage for the rest of the turn. Sometimes Cassandra has a bit of an issue with killing people, which is why we're playing these big crazy cards. And so being able to play a big multiple, whether it be on Dark Cheerito or on the From Science with Love, and say that they all get an additional +1 damage might be the difference between killing your opponent or them surviving at 1 or 2. And so this card at the very front of our chain and saying, hey, we're gonna make all of this big long string have a bunch of extra stats is very strong. And then my last attack that we're playing is a very defensive one. We're playing Angel Discus. Discus is one of the coolest cards in this deck because of the fact of how well it interacts with Cassandra. If I have an asset existing in my staging area, after I play it, I can play it, use its enhance, and then during the end phase, it will lift back up to my hand, which is a really strong play because when you block with this card, because she's using her awesome shield, you take no damage from it. That includes from things like throws or even cards that say if you full block it, still deals 1 damage. This card just says actually it deals no damage. Very, very strong play. Kind of a free card to play on your turn as long as you've got the asset out. Speaking of assets, the first asset that I want to talk about is Omega Sword and Elk Shield. This card sits in my staging area, even when it is committed, and you can block with it as if it were in your hand, kind of making Cassandra a floating 8 hand-size character for the rest of the game. And if you do happen to block with it, you will only take 1 damage as opposed to the full amount of damage, even if it is a partial block. But it does include if it is a full block as well. So if this is the only card that you can block with and you are 1 vitality, you are still going to take that 1 damage and thus losing the game. The last, the enhance, the flip foundation, both players commit a face-up foundation. It is useful in certain situations, but not necessarily the main strategy whenever used with comboed with this Cassandra deck. Next, we're playing one Kasel as a bit of a disruption tool. Enhance, commit, seal, or take away the text of one of my opponent's foundations. I get to pick. And then response, check a 4. Beautiful with Cassandra because I get to check a little more with to try and find those assets. After my opponent plays an ability on one of the foundations in their turn, in their staging area, the attack gets -1 speed. We're playing one Coludus, response once per turn after an attack. After one of my attacks deal damage, I get to selectively flip one of my opponent's foundations, or even more importantly, their assets. Flipping my opponent's assets is really, really strong. And then it also has this awesome deadlock ability of my throws get +6 damage. Giving my my Swallow Your Souls an extra 6 damage means that I will be winning the game probably on this turn. We're playing one Soulcalibur. Response after my opponent plays a weapon card, I can seal it or take away all its text. And then if my attack deals damage, I can take and swap out for a different asset. This is one of the most powerful assets in the entire game. If you haven't picked up Soulcalibur, you definitely have to. This card, about a 5th of all the attacks in the game at the moment are all weapons, and they're really, really good ones. As you saw, being able to seal a From Science with Love so that I don't get multiple 6. Don't multiple me. Please don't get that free momentum. It just can really turn off an entire turn. Up next, we're playing one Cormorant. This card works in the exact same way as Elk Shield, where it just sits in my staging area, even if it is committed. So it just got brought in with Cassandra in order to block. And instead of only dealing 1 damage, this card says after I block with it, it has Breaker 2, which means the next card that my opponent plays is a little tougher. And then the last asset that we're playing, the most important one, honestly, is we're playing 4 Omega Sword and Owl Shield. Apologies, we do have 1 proxy. We don't quite have 4. We've only got 3. But this card says, while it's ready in my staging area, my blocks ignore progressive difficulty. So normally whenever you play blocks, you have to increase that increase the difficulty of every time that you attempt to play a block further. So if I attempted to play this Omega Sword and Owl Shield as the 4th block, it'd be 1 plus 3 plus their speed. With this card in the staging area, it doesn't count these 3 extra cards. Enhanced check of 4, it's the opposite of Cassandra. Cassandra gives speed, Owl Shield gives damage, and then Cassandra twice per turn, my block modifier gets -2. So you can take things like Cormorant and make it a -1 block modifier twice per turn, and then have Cormorant not count towards progressive difficulty. This is the main defensive tool that Cassandra has. This is the one asset that she has to have on her field at pretty much all times, and that is why we for sure are playing 4 of this card. We have to see this card. It really is a make or break for how the deck works. On to our foundations. The first foundation type we're going to talk about is the aggressive foundations. We're only playing a couple. Fusion Refusal, it says you add it up to your staging area, and your attack gets +2/+2, and it is +2 or -2 playable while committed. You can increase your damage or decrease your damage. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to want to increase just in order to try and get that little extra in. But the other cool ability is says if it wasn't added into your card pool due to your form, it doesn't count as progressive difficulty. So really, really strong combo with Nutcracker. Build in a Fusion Refusal into the pool and then draw a card. It's like it's not even there. Up next, we're playing triple Key to Humanities Freedom. If I have an asset, which I'm Cassandra, I probably do, my attack will get +2 damage. I can play this twice per turn. So, I mean, a free +12/+12 inside of my staging area is really, really strong, especially if I'm playing out these big, long attack strings. On to some flow cards, we're playing 4 Sense of Morals. This card doesn't count towards progressive while it's in the card pool, which means I can play it on turn 1, turn 2, and I get to build out these big long strings, which means either I can attack later on really easily, or I can defend myself by committing them and passing extra checks. Having really big build turns with Cassandra is really the plays that we want. On to some defense. We're playing 3 Guardian of the Spirit Sword, enhance once per turn, -2 speed. If it was a weapon attack, like a 5th of the attacks are in the game, -3 speed instead. And then we can also flip and discard and grab one of the many assets that we're playing. Being able to flip, discard a card after giving the attack speed in order to grab an Elk Shield and only take 1 off of a 40 damage attack feels really, really good. In the same vein of Guardian, we're also playing triple Bakery Poster Girl, a playable while committed, destroy, put this attack's speed to 0. Just pretty much auto guarantees you're going to block whatever you want. This combined with Owl Shield means that it is impossible to fail any block. On to some Disruption, which we're playing a majority of in our deck. We are playing 4 Servant of Ares, pay 2 Vitality, flip one of my opponent's Problem Foundations. This card could be considered an aggressive card because it does say commit my throw attack gets +4 damage, but the more useful ability of the flip one of theirs, trading a 1-for-1 here is really, really good, especially whenever we have cards in our deck like From Science with Love. Up next, we're playing triple Dark Side of Karma. After my opponent plays an ability on a non-weapon cards, 4/5 of the cards in the game, I can just cancel it. Or 4/5 of the attacks in the game, I can just cancel it. And this is just any non-character, non-weapon card. So if you play an action or you play an ability on a foundation or an asset, I'm just going to say no to it. In addition to that, another playable while committed ability of flip, put it back to printed speed so I can block it really easy. Up next, we're playing triple Overly Dramatic. This card's a really good catch-all because unlike cards like Overly Dramatic that say non-character, Overly Dramatic does not. If my opponent attempts to increase the speed or decrease the damage, even on an ability like with Cassandra, I can just cancel it. Did you try and increase the speed with Cassandra? No, I don't think so. I'm going to block it instead. Really, really solid, as well as a very potent deadlock ability of just finding a weapon, finding an attack out of your discard pile. Up next, we're playing triple Ominous Prophecy. This card is our asset, our main asset hate outside of Coludus, as well as a lot of decks nowadays that kind of rely off of a general keyword mechanic, whether it be a powerful or a stun or charge or weapon. And Ominous Prophecy says that if you have Foresight, you can, at the start of your opponent's turn, remove, and then all cards lose that keyword for the rest of the turn. Maybe your opponent is playing a flash deck. Well, I will just respond, remove the flash keyword from all of my opponent's cards. If your opponent's playing a weapon deck, response, hey, Yoshimitsu, you no longer are playing a weapon deck. You're playing a blank deck. Ominous Prophecy is one of those very, very strong counter tools. Up next, we're playing triple Protecting the Protector. Discard a momentum after your opponent plays an ability that interacts with your board, pretty much whatever. Commits, destroys, flips, removes, or seals one of your cards. cancel its abilities. Cassandra's really strong. I want to keep her ready. Protect the Protector protects it. Hey, my foundation area is really strong, and I need to make sure that it stays alive, and Togorbos doesn't hurt me. Protect the Protector protects it. This card is a pretty much catch-all, except for there's a few loopholes, which we just won't get into today. But this card is very, very strong at protecting your board, as the name suggests. Up next, we've got triple Voices in the Dark. The main reason we're using this card is flip, take one of your opponent's momentum and put it back into their deck. Shuffle it back in, or you can take a card from their discard pile and shuffle it back in. Maybe they're playing some card that has a really good potent synergy with cards in their discard pile. Hey, put it back in your deck. You're going to have to find it one more time. Card's very, very strong. It's a really slept-on card in the current meta. You definitely should be trying this card out. And then the last card that we're playing is double Pursuing Vendetta. This card is really good because I like the foundations that I play. I mean, it's the reason that I play them. So if my opponent happens to get rid of any of the foundations that I have, I can response flip and then build any foundation that I want from my discard pile into my staging area committed, even if it is the foundation that they just got rid of. Did they blow up my Voices in the Dark? That's okay. I'll Pursuing into Vendetta and I'll bring it back in. It does come in committed, so you can't use it this exact turn, but at least you'll have the resource ready for you. Also, if you remember, there are plenty of cards that we play that are playable while committed. And so there you have it. There's the Cassandra deck that was built for us by Rochester CCG. Big shout outs to them, rochesterccg.com, for suggesting and giving us these awesome decks, pairing up our bracket, and honestly giving us a really fun, entertaining campus championship. If you like this deck and you want to see more of it, make sure you check out all of the matches that the Cassandra deck played over on a separate playlist here out on youtube.com/TCGUniversity. If you want to catch the matches live, you can next time over on twitch.tv/TCGUniversity. Follow out there for every time that we go live. Normally Tuesdays at roughly 3 o'clock, where we play an entire 8-man bracket for your entertainment. Join us in chat. It'd be super fun. And then lastly, if you like the content and you want to support us, the best way to do that is by going out to patreon.com/TCGUniversity. Sub out there at least the $1 level. Get access to our Discord where you can sit and chit-chat about your really awesome Cassandra deck. We would love to chat with you. So from all of us here at TCGU, thank you very much for watching the video, and stay learned.